This is Corolla DeVille, and you're watching Inkwife TV. In today's episode, I have a guest with me. Say hi, guest.
Hello, I'm Zozie, Zozie Fozie.
This is Zoe, who is my youngest spawn, and Zoe is also the leg in this tattoo. This is their leg. What are we putting on you?
Shelley Duvall for The Shining. It's a design I did, not to brag, but also to brag. I'm quite proud of this design. But yeah, Shelley Duvall. I don't know what it is about her, but I've always loved her, and I always thought she was like super, super pretty. So I decided, I might as well get a tattoo of her.
Okay. I feel that a strange face is much more difficult to do than your standard pretty face. And Shelley definitely has a very unique and different prettiness.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a bit of a challenge.
She's kind of like weirdly ethereal, in a sense. A little bit alien, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely feel I can see alien.
But she's always been very, very quiet, and I've liked that about that. Oh, dog intermission.
Oh, yeah, there's a dog at the door.
You can't come in, I'm sorry.
Okay, to talk a little bit about what I'm doing on the tattoo, this is a cross between realism and traditional.
Like my style.
Yes. Zoe designed the piece, but some of the accents were more traditional, although Zoe put their own edge on it, and then other parts of it were realistic, or as realistic as you could. There weren't any really good clear clips from the movie because it's all VHS. So it kind of gave it a little soft, hazy effect on the picture of Shelley, but in some ways that made it easier to tattoo.
Yeah.
It softened it a little bit.
Yeah, I really, really like how you softened it, though.
Well, for the plaid on the shirt, I ran over the lines really lightly with a gray wash.
Yeah.
That's all I did for that bit, just so I know where the plaid is. Because I wanted it to be really good and clean.
Yeah, I've learned when it comes to my designs, like I have an issue with like overwiping sometimes. I've just learned to do a quick run through of the line work to make sure it's like cemented in there.
Yeah.
Before I fully fill it in, and that's been helping me with tattooing.
Yes, helps you not to lose the design.
Yeah, you taught me a good bit with that.
Oh yes, Zoe is also my tattoo apprentice. Has a wonderful little career going for themselves. Is doing a great job.
I feel that I'm doing a pretty good job.
Oh yeah, very much.
It's really, honestly, I think it's probably easier for me because of the fact that I had art going for me before.
Yes, you always were artistic. Always. For Shelley's hair, I haven't filled it in completely at this point, but I needed some of the little shape in her hair not to wipe away, so I went over that. I'm using a 15 curved mag. That's the size mag that I always like to use. It's big enough to have a soft effect, but it's small enough that it will actually hold the ink. I find that when you get the really big mags, like 20 and up, they don't seem to want to hold the ink. It's like there's too much of a gap, and the ink all wants to flow out.
The ink feels so watery too, since you're using something that's watered down as well.
Yes.
It does not hold in.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I've learned that actually filling it in with thicker colors, the ink holds better. But as soon as I add witch hazel, it becomes so much waterier.
Yeah.
It's such a pain. That hurt so bad. I want to make sure this video stays monetized, so no cursing, but ouchie, no, that was
this was a bad part.
It was such a bad
Johnny.
part. Oh, felt like someone was actually carving into me.
I was technically, in a way. doing just that.
Yeah, you are. Like, you're literally, like, creatively carving into me.
Yes, creatively.
Squeaky chair.
So I want to point out that even though, you know, the words, here's Johnny, are supposed to look scratched in,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that you rush and you go any faster than you normally would.
Yeah.
That last bit I showed in real time to show that even though they're supposed to look scratchy, I'm still incredibly precise with where I'm putting each line. That doesn't mean actually be scratchy. It means be super careful so it will look that way.
Yeah.
So if you hurry up, go fast or something like that, it's gonna look like crap.
Yeah, when I was drawing this and coming up with a design, I had such an incredibly hard time with making the line work look like really balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to be precise even in the design, especially with those roses. I don't know what it is. I can't stand when roses like don't look like proper roses. Like they look like cabbages.
Yeah.
Or like
yeah.
a discolored hoo-ha.
Uh-huh. No,
I can't stand that. But these roses look like proper roses, and that's what matters.
They do.
Oh my goodness, and I can't wait for you to add the blood in.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We're gonna put a blood splatter in the background eventually. So, this video is longer than what I normally do. It's a little over 37 minutes long.
Okay.
And it's longer because it covers 2 sessions, and each session was around 4 to 4.5 hours. So by the end of this, we will have put in 8 to 9 hours of tattooing time. I just wanted to be able to finish up this video with it, you know, looking like Shelley Duvall.
Hey,
And that took 2 sessions to make it look like Shelley Duvall.
you know, when in doubt, if you ever wanted to make it look like super duper pretty, you could always go in with like a single liner for like either the lashes or the hair.
Yes.
And I have some single needles.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You know how hard those are to work with?
Yeah,
Freaking
I've done them.
hard.
They're freaking hard, but man, they're fun.
Yeah, they are fun.
And
So let's talk about this for just one sec. I started by throwing a shading with a burnt umber in there to put in kind of the definitions and shadows in her face. Now, next time I do a portrait, I'm not going to start using the darker brown. I'm going to start with more of a medium skin tone color because I think that will give me better success. Because at the end of it, I looked and I thought, it's a little too dark. And if I'd gone in with medium, then it would have given me more of a better 0 point to start with to grade how dark my shadows should be.
Yeah.
As it is, I was just kind of starting from a 0 point that I was imagining in my head, you know, not actually seeing it. And so I felt like the shadows were a little more than I wanted them to be by the end of this. I still love it. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome. That is just a personal criticism going there.
It's just a little bit too dramatic for you.
Yes, just a little bit too much. And I also felt like I could barely see my needle strokes more than I wanted to.
Yeah.
I should have turned my machine down a little bit and shortened the stroke a little bit so it would have hit a little softer and closer together.
Yeah.
But either way, it still healed up wonderfully, and I always use my needle stroke to help shade the contours of skin.
Yeah.
I turn my needle stroke and I use that to help with the contour. So it was not in any way a problem. Again, just personal criticism in ways that I think, you know, wow, I could be better. I love this nose.
I really, honestly, you did such a good job on it.
Well, I really like when you start putting the shadows in the nostrils and it begins to come to life.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit. So satisfying.
Yeah, I feel that I paint a lot of portraits on my iPad, and anytime I draw the nose, whenever I add that like little bit of extra depth in it, It's really quite wonderful.
Yes, yes. So I don't know if your technique is the same as mine, but when I'm doing a portrait, I always, I've got kind of the nose and the lips lightly outlined, but the first thing I want to hit the detail on is the eyes.
Yeah.
I want the eyes looking exactly where they're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can make the eyes believable, I've got it.
Yeah.
I can make the rest of it work. The eyes just have to be believable. And for Shelly, she's got one that's kind of going off in its own direction, doing its own thing.
Yeah, she's very, very interesting looking.
Yeah. I was talking about using too much dark brown you see above that one eye. I felt like it was just a little too dark. And as soon as I did, I was like, oh crap. That's a little more. It still came out fine because I was able to lighten it up, make it, and she's got very deep set eyes. It was just 5-10% more than I wanted it to be. I'm just, personal self-criticism.
Yeah.
But other than that, her little eye shaped up beautifully.
Oh, definitely. I really, really love just whenever I got up after the first session, I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh my gosh, it's actually Shelly. Wow.
Yeah, it's always nice when it's identifiably the person.
Isn't it? It's wonderful, and I get compliments on it so often.
Oh, that's great.
Everybody's like, oh my gosh, I love your Shelly Duvall tattoo. I'm like, yeah.
Oh.
Guess who designed it, and also guess who tattooed it? My mom.
Oh my goodness.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Here I've got a little real time going. I'm probably running my machine at about 5 volts. Really, or 4.8. That's like a burnt umber.
Okay.
It was a good dark color to use on the shadows on the eyebrows.
Yeah, doing shading's really scary for me sometimes. When there's so many different hues. And I just, my brain just always wants to pick out every single color in it, but...
Yeah.
I know I need to simplify things out more often than not.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a minimum of 3. 5 to 7 is usually, for something like skin tone especially.
Yeah.
You want to put him outside? We have a puppy invasion and he's... There, bye puppy.
Cute puppy.
Yeah, for skin tone, I probably used around 7 different tones.
Dang.
On it. I can't remember what all of the names are, but...
Mostly, Eternal inks.
Yeah, I like the Eternal portrait set.
Yeah, I always see you using that whenever you do portraits, which, your portraits are always really, really lovely.
Thanks. I've mostly done black and gray, and the full color is new territory.
Yeah.
I've done a couple, and they're turning out really well, but it's new territory.
I want to someday eventually get really, really good at doing portrait shading, but doing the cartoon realism stuff that I do on my iPad.
Yeah.
Because that would be so pretty translated into a tattoo.
Oh, absolutely.
Be 5 sessions, and it would take so long to get those colors super bright, but I would be adding neons, black lights, and everything.
That would be fantastic.
Be gorgeous.
Yep. You got nothing but time.
Yeah. And there's a lot of places that I eventually want to feature at and travel to.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
You and me both.
Oh man, that would be great.
That would be.
I'd love to travel with you.
So I got the basic outline and shapes in her eyes, and I was happy with the direction that they were facing. So I went on to the mouth.
Adding more depth.
Yep, adding more depth, because that's the second thing that I want to make sense. First the eyes, second the mouth, and then if you've done a really good stencil, you should have no problem fitting that nose in exactly where it should be.
Man, I love how you just I just see her transforming and becoming more Shelly.
Yeah.
Every time I look at the screen.
Hey, you haven't seen any of this footage yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
Ah!
I haven't at all, so this is like a very, very first time.
Uh-huh. It's way more fun watching it sped up than watching it in real life. That's for sure.
Oh, I can definitely imagine, especially feeling it in real life. Oh, don't
Yes.
even get me started.
That was a lot.
Oh, it was horrible. Horrible. I cried. I'm such a baby.
Oh, no.
But-
I've cried through tattoos before.
But I'm going in for more. Also, I love that skin color you use. Ugh.
Yes.
And you use like my own skin tone as like the lightest color because I'm pale.
Yes, you are. And yeah, I used very little of your skin tone shows through, but just that's what works as the highlights.
Man, that works really, really well. I'm learning so much.
Yeah, you can do that on a very, very pale person. Use their own tone as the highlights.
It must be a perfect canvas, huh?
You are. You have wonderful calves, wonderful skin. Thank you for being born.
Thank you for giving me great genes.
Oh, you're
to
welcome.
be conventionally pretty too.
Oh.
Oh wow, I love watching this just change. Like that's.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when you add like the most dominant color and you can just see it transform before your eyes.
Yeah.
It's so gorgeous. Really entrancing.
Yes, yeah, it is.
Sorry if I like tend to shower you with compliments. It's like I guess it's just kind of my thing with anybody whenever I'm watching them work.
Oh. That is so neat. I love when it starts looking like there's a little bit of a human being in that.
Yeah.
It changes from something that looks like art into more realistic.
Yeah. The way I managed to get through the pain was rapping Doja Cat songs.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah, it's like just rapping in my mind. I don't know. It's like that. There's something else to focus on. Really.
Yeah, that totally works.
Yeah, it does.
Yep. Yeah, I'll sometimes meditate, focus on my breathing. Yeah, I'll think about songs and go through the lyrics and, just find something to hyper focus on so I can not think about the needles poking into me.
Yeah. I come to realize, like, ever since I just started getting tattooed, which I was such a good dude, 2 shoes. I wouldn't get any tattoos until I was 18. But once I started getting tattooed, I realized I actually do have a high pain tolerance. I just gotta find a proper distraction.
Yeah.
That's all, really.
Yeah, definitely.
I think when it comes to handling pain is just knowing that it's eventually gonna be over. I just gotta distract myself and it'll be fine.
Yeah. Other things I've practiced is like feeling it come into me, and instead of focusing on how much it hurts there, I feel it, I move it up into the top of my head and out. So and that has helped me a whole lot, just visualizing it moving up and out instead of staying right there, and that lessened the intensity in many, many ways.
Yeah, I just kind of endure it and just let it come and go, really, more than anything.
That's all
yay!
you can do. Yeah, there's the mouth coming together.
I was excited for this part. I love whenever just more depth is added.
Yep.
That just adds so much more.
Yep. I love that. Filling in the black in the mouth.
Oh yeah. Also those eyes.
Yeah, that's
together
when they
really.
started to look good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so this, what I did for filling in her teeth, and I'm really sorry about the camera going in and out of focus. I've now figured out how to turn off the autofocus, so it should work better. But to fill in the grooves in her teeth, I just used another flesh tone.
Yes.
I used a light flesh tone. It doesn't need any gray. It doesn't need any brown. Use a flesh tone.
Which is
That's
actually
about all you need.
Which is actually a very good tip for drawing overall when it comes to teeth if you are wanting to draw realistic teeth. I've come to learn that teeth have a very, very warm undertone, like like, not only is it reflecting the color of your lip, but as well as the gum, and as well as on the inside, there are blood vessels.
Yes.
So, use pinks and yellows to shade your teeth.
Ah,
That's your tip of the day.
thank you. That's more than I did.
Yeah.
Well, I did use, I shaded it. I used like the shadows and the gum parts with just a flesh color, and then kind of used your natural tone as the basic tooth color.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I just put some little reflective white highlights.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you've got that natural skin tone in there though, and it made a beautiful, realistic set of teeth.
Yeah, and that's actually also another tip. Don't make your teeth, whenever you're drawing realistic teeth, never make them fully white for the base color. Make them like a skin tone, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And add the white highlights in later,
right there.
Exactly.
Like that.
Exactly.
Got the highlights in the eyes and in the teeth. And she has a very realistic eyes and nose.
And also, the fact that you kept the highlights to a basic minimum really, really helped a lot.
Well, I am so happy you're happy. There's the end of session 1.
Yay.
And your start session 2. Here we are about 2 weeks later. And she's healed up pretty well. So the first thing I started with this time is I wanted to get the plaid shirt out of the way. The idea of doing all that plaid was a little intimidating. I've tattooed plaid a few times, and it is always a challenge. So I wanted to get it out of the way. I started by using my 5-round liner to color in all of the dark green squares. I did all of the squares and the detail lines before I added any shading to it, because that allowed me to see where all the detail was.
Mm-hmm.
And then, shade on top of that very lightly, because the skin was already perforated.
Yeah.
So that allowed the shadows to go in very quickly and easily. But I'm jumping ahead.
Either way, it still looks good.
Yeah, it turned out really nicely.
I'm giving up spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. So I did all the dark green squares, and now I'm going back with a green that is slightly lighter, just a few shades lighter, and filling in the squares that connect. And I'm also drawing those little detail lines that there are in between. It's like the little lines in the plaid.
Yeah. It's good that you got in those main lines in first to actually get the design in.
Yes.
Because honestly, that's the most important. I've seen so many people draw plaid and they draw it so flat.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to recognize that there is texture on the cloth, so you might as well just have the most fun you can with it.
Right. And it's you can do it, and it's not hard, it's just tedious.
Yeah.
Nothing about making plaid is hard. It is just tedious.
Yeah, it's literally just tedious.
Yeah, don't get in a hurry. Take your time and make every single line count. And you will be so rewarded with fabric that looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, really. And as well as the good thing with plaids is I've learned with drawing them too digitally, you don't have to do that much shading. Just as long as you make the lines look good and you just add a little bit of gray shading, same with tattooing, it looks great.
Yeah, and plaid creates its own wonderful shadow shape when you put the curves in it. You make them wider and then thinner so that it gives the fabric a contour, and it just works so well. So see, just a little bit of shadowing, and then I wanted to add white into the highlights of the little squares to really make it look in foreground.
Yeah.
And that just gave it something extra to make it pop and really look like much more like the original photograph.
Yeah, it's like, it's that little bit of extra detail, and honestly, just a little bit really goes a long way. Like, same with the teeth, like how you did just a little bit of white in the teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Same with that, just a little bit of white really goes a long way.
Yes. Yeah.
You really can't overdo it. Just gotta be picky.
Yeah, you can't just color with it, but used in the correct situations, it makes all the difference.
Yeah. So when you were adding in the white, did you just add in like pure white, or did you add like off-white?
No, just straight white.
Just straight white, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't even toned down or anything?
No. But you see, I don't add it into all of the squares. I only added it into the ones that I wanted to look more forward. Some of them are still just got that neutral flesh color because that makes it look like it's a secondary white, a little more back, and then the bright white looks more forward.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Flesh time.
Yeah.
Okay.
As I had mentioned before, I felt that the shadows were a little dark, just a little bit harsh. I should not have started out with the dark brown. So I began this time with a good flesh medium tone to try to tone down the browns a little bit and continue in with adding the shape and contour of her face.
Yeah. Honestly, I remember when I looked at it for the first time. Goodness, my stutter. For the first time, I was like, man, the shadows are like super, super dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you went over it for the second time, it was like really, really, really good.
Yeah, it softened it up a lot.
Yes.
Which I knew that it would. I had really been worrying, though, that I would lose the shape of, some of the shape of the important features of her face. And so, but I didn't, and it all worked out just fine.
Okay, so you're now adding some of the blush in.
Mm-hmm.
Which is wonderful because for the majority of the movie, she was actually, it was actually very, very cold.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not in the acting, actually, but, like, it was really, really cold.
Yeah.
So, like, being able to interpret that into the tattoo is actually quite nice.
Yeah, her cheeks were very red and flushed, and she's got the red on the tip of her nose, too. I've got some, like, a terracotta-looking color, too. Always like to add a little bit of orange in with skin colors. It just goes well.
Yeah, there's like so many different tones when it comes to tattoos.
Yeah.
And as well as when it comes to like just coloring in skin.
Uh-huh.
Like, I could see you adding in more of that, what was it, burnt umber?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was more of that burnt umber. When adding skin, you gotta be a little bit mindful of like the different kinds of hues you use because you don't want to end up making the person look sickly.
Oh,
too.
absolutely. Yeah, when I was this, as you can see, that top cheek, I was always focusing on that one first. That was, I guess, my learning side, the side I was learning on, and then once I figured out what I really liked on that side, I just mirror imaged it on the other side too. So the second cheek went a lot faster than the first one.
Yeah.
So that was where I was learning, because every tattoo is different, especially when it's a portrait, and so I'm just playing through a little bit of it to try to make it work out right and layering different colors.
Yeah.
Going, okay, in which order is it going to give the right effect? Because, you might have 3 or 4 colors, and if you layer them different, they're all going to give different effects. I got to figure out which way is going to work.
Yeah, okay. You're adding in like this lilac?
Yeah, a purple lilac it gives a good natural reflection also with how how thin and cold she was in the movie, and how under stress it gives her skin a translucence.
Yes, yes.
I like to also add a little of the purple around her eyes because her eyes they're very sunken.
Mm-hmm. They're very bony, as well as when it comes to being flushed and being cold and whatever the sort, you're going to have a bit of a purple undertone. Yeah, any form of flushing, anytime someone is flushing, I always add a little bit of purple into the shading on their cheeks, because that brings in depth and color and whatever the sort. Okay.
Yes, it does.
And you're
a little bit around her eyes as well.
I'm really, really loving the orange you added in as well. Like the orange and the purple, they're just very contrasting, so they work well together.
They balance each other as opposing colors in skin tone.
Yes, there are complementary colors. And you're adding more into the eye.
Yeah, I added a little bit of purple in the white of the eye too for the shadow. Sometimes I might use a gray wash in the shading of an eye, but a lot of times, especially if I'm going real, an eye white picks up a lot of other color around it.
Yeah.
So working with those drastic looking flesh tones like the purple and the little bit of orange or a peach color works well as a shadow.
Yeah,
or blue. I've also used blue, especially if you want to give it that natural sky reflection. A blue works well.
I usually like using a little bit of red in my shadows when it comes to eyes, because because the fact that there's a reddish undertone to eyes, because the fact that there is blood, there's veins and everything. I like doing a little bit of red, a little bit of gray.
Yes.
But also from a basic color for the eye, I like doing a mid-tone, which skin works great for.
Yes.
And if you add just minimal lighting, it makes that eye pop and real. It makes it come to life.
Yes. Yeah, a little bit of that skin tone color.
Yeah.
Up here I've got a little bit more of the red I'm adding around the nose.
Oh, I love the red.
Because she had that poor, sickly little, I've been crying nose.
Yeah, she looked. Oh gosh. I know that the actor who played Johnny actually harassed her backstage. So a lot more of her reactions.
Nicholson?
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of her reactions were a lot more realistic.
I would not want to be harassed by Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, he's really, really scary. He really is.
He would be frightening to be harassed by.
He did such a good job in the movie. He was terrifying. I can only imagine actually in real life dealing with that. That would not be fun.
No.
Poor sweetheart. I give her a hug. She's been through too much. Going in, I love how much purple you added around the eyes. Goodness, my stutter's going crazy. I love how much purple you added around the eyes, and as well as the red in the nose, and how much it contrasts together. It's wonderful.
And it's got her lovely little lazy eye.
Yeah. Oh, I love seeing you add the purple. That just adds so much more depth too.
I think my favorite part on this is her chin, for whatever reason. It really makes her look horrified. Those little weird little wrinkles under her chin. Once I got those in there, I was like, okay, she's got the expression I want now.
Yeah, it's not considerably photogenic.
No, not at all.
it's actually a very, very rather horrified look, which is great. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's way more difficult to do, I feel, than a normal, standard, smiling, attractive, balanced face.
Yes. Okay, tell me what you used for the white highlights.
For the white highlights, I take the lightest flesh tone I can find, and then I add more white to it.
Okay.
I don't want straight white. That's not going to work. In the ink kit, I've got the flesh tone kit I have. It uses almond for the light color, and that to me is just way too gray.
Yeah.
So I get the lightest flesh tone I can find and cut it with about 25% flesh tone, 75% white.
Yes.
And that seems to look significantly more natural.
Yeah, I'd probably go for that too, especially for like someone with like such a pale skin tone as Shelly.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a very good thing to go to.
Yeah. I mean, I may use a few actual white highlights, but I only save that for like the tips on the nose and the little highlights in the lips and maybe a few highlights in the eyes.
Yes, and
that's
as
all
well.
I save it for.
And like in the plaid as well. And I can't wait for when you fill in the hair.
Oh, and then the hair, which will be immediately the next thing I'm going to work on.
Yes.
Because then she'll really look real. And then finish that sweater too down there. It doesn't need a lot, but it needs some natural fiber looking tones in it to give it, pull it up on par with the plaid shirt.
Yes.
Give it its detail.
Which I'm quite excited for. That'll be something fun to work with.
We need to get this going again because you're completely healed after this second session now. So any chance we get, we can get you back in there and do another episode on this.
Absolutely. I'm ready anytime.
Okay. Yeah, as soon as we get more work, we'll put another video together and get it out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very, very excited too. By the way, I love like how you're adding more depth into the eyebrows.
Yeah. Oh, and there goes a little bit of that flesh tone you were talking about in the whites of the eyes.
Yes.
And a little more purple too.
Yeah, it adds so much depth because your eyes, like, they reflect so much of like its surroundings, and a lot of its surroundings is like your body.
Mm-hmm.
So there's bound to be those colors.
Yes.
In the eyes.
Yep.
As well. You're going back in. Oh, you're adding like a little bit more highlights.
So I wanted very minimal of your skin showing through. So even running over it lightly with a flesh tone, it just adds something to it. It adds another layer of color.
Yes.
Just a slight another layer of some depth to it.
It's like how I use my Prismacolors on tone paper.
Oh, they're finished.
Wonderful.
Thank you for hanging out with me today, Zoe.
No problem.
Yeah, let's do this again in a couple of weeks, okay?
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll get it finished.